Imagine walking into a store and paying $5 for something that costs less than 50 cents to make. No gold, no rare ingredient, no secret formula, just coffee. Now here's the real question. How do you convince millions of people to happily overpay? This story doesn't start in a boardroom, it starts with frustration. In the early 1980s, coffee in America was boring. You grabbed it from a gas station, you drank it from a cheap cup. It tasted burnt, nobody cared. Coffee was fuel, nothing more. And then one man took a trip to Italy. He walked into a small cafe in Milan. It was loud, warm, alive. People weren't rushing. They stood at the bar. They talked to strangers. They smiled at the barista. The barista knew their names. The coffee machine hissed. Steam filled the air. And suddenly, he realized something uncomfortable. America didn't have this. America had speed. Italy had ritual. That idea hit him hard, because back home, people were getting richer. Cities were growing, office jobs were increasing, stress was rising, but loneliness was rising too. People had houses, people had jobs, but they didn't have a place in between. Not home, not work, a third place. That was the idea. Not a coffee shop, a third place. When he came back to America and pitched this idea, people laughed. Americans don't stand around drinking espresso. They want large cups, they want it fast, and no one will pay premium prices. But he wasn't trying to compete with cheap coffee. He was trying to reposition it. And this is where the genius starts. If you sell a product, people compare price. If you sell an experience, people compare feelings. He didn't design a store, he designed a mood. Warm yellow lights, dark wood furniture, soft music, Italian names like latte and cappuccino. Even the cup felt different in your hand. And then came the bold move. He didn't lower the price to attract customers, he raised it, almost $5. Back then, that sounded insane, but psychologically, something powerful happens when you increase price. Higher price signals higher value, even if nothing changed. If a shirt costs $10, you question its quality. If it costs $200, you assume it's premium. The brain uses price as a shortcut. So when customers saw $4.95 coffee, their brain didn't think overpriced, it thought special. Now combine that with environment. You walk in, the smell hits you, your name is written on the cup, you sit down with your laptop, suddenly you're not just drinking coffee, you are the kind of person who drinks here. And that's the emotional trigger, identity. People don't buy coffee, they buy the feeling of being upgraded. The store became a stage. Students studied there, entrepreneurs had meetings there, couples had dates there, writers worked there. The brand quietly whispered, "You belong here." And once belonging enters the equation, price stops being the main factor. Now let's talk uncomfortable math. Coffee beans are cheap, milk is cheap, water is almost free. Let's say a cup costs under $1 to make. Sell it for $5. That's huge margin. Now imagine one person buys one cup every weekday. That's 20 cups a month, $100 from one customer. Multiply that by millions. Now you don't have customers, you have daily subscribers, recurring revenue disguised as routine. And here's the twist most people miss. He standardized everything. Same store layout, same smell, same cup design, same music vibe. So no matter where you were, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, it felt familiar. Familiarity builds trust. Trust builds habit. Habit builds dependency. And dependency builds billion-dollar companies. Competitors tried copying the drinks. They copied the menu. They copied the cup size. But they couldn't copy perception. Because perception isn't built in a recipe, it's built in positioning. He moved coffee from the cheap necessity category into the affordable luxury category. Affordable luxury is dangerous. It's not too expensive to reject, but expensive enough to feel premium. That sweet spot is addictive. Now think bigger. When millions of people walk around holding the same branded cup, it becomes cultural. It becomes social proof. If everyone is buying it, it must be worth it. And that creates momentum. Investors who once laughed started paying attention. Stores expanded globally. The company crossed billions in revenue. And the craziest part? The product never changed dramatically. Coffee stayed coffee. What changed was perception. He didn't invent a better bean. He engineered a better feeling. And here's the uncomfortable truth. We like to believe we are rational buyers. We think we compare features. We think we analyze price. But most of the time, we buy how something makes us feel about ourselves. The $5 coffee wasn't about caffeine. It was about status without arrogance, luxury without guilt, community without commitment. And once that emotional system was locked in, the money followed. So next time you see someone paying premium for something simple, don't laugh. Ask yourself, did they overpay? Or did they just understand the emotional upgrade? Because sometimes the biggest businesses in the world aren't built on better products, they're built on better psychology. And that's how a simple cup of coffee turned into a billion-dollar empire.